Matrix. So this channel will be used to explain to you any work that you do not understand. Today we're gonna jump straight into the trigonometry, and these are the typical things that you need to know: the compound angles and the double angles. The reduction formulas from last year are given. You should know that. No matter what, it will be very useful to you. And the cast rule will also be very important. The reduction formulas, where you know where what stands for stays. Now, being given a simple sum like this one, you start treating every variable as 1. Now, knowing that there are spaces here, you should know that this is a times and a times. Like that's, you should know that. And it starts with sine 360 minus y. From your reduction formulas, you know that sine 360 minus whatever is minus sine that variable. So you start with that and you write minus sine that variable. Here it's a y, so you can go ahead and write the y in. And then you have cos 17. You leave that as it is because it cannot be changed now. And then 1 minus cosine, given to you straight from grade 11. You know 1 minus cos squared is equals to sine squared. So now that we have 1 minus cos squared y, it will be sine squared y. Now, you move on to the next one, cos 360 plus y. From your reduction formulas again, you know cos 360 plus whatever, according to the first quadrant, plus whatever will give you the number that it is. So here it will stay cos y. Tan minus a variable will give you minus tan, the variable given to you. And that here will be minus tan y. Sin 73, leave it as it is. Now cos, remember this is 90 minus a variable. Don't get confused by the minus 2 given to you. This is any variable. And from your reduction formula, we know that cos minus whatever gives you sine whatever the variable is. So here it will be sine whatever the variable is. That was what it will be. And then with that, now you rewrite your sum to take out any variable that you do not familiarize with. So you write out as you know. And the 10, you know 10 will be minus sine divided by cos. And then with the sin 73, we have a different number here and a different number there. From grade 11, you remember that any of the sin and cos variables, 90 minus the number will give you what it should be. So if on the sign it's cos minus the variable that you have, it should be that. So sin 73 will give you cos 17. With that, you can see that they are similar, and then you complete your sum. Now, we should just start cancelling out. With the cos 17 and cos 17 over a division sign, they cancel. Now, with the 10, remember this is cos over 1 and minus sine over cos. So this will cancel and this will be left. And with that being left and this being there, these two can cancel too. So at the end of the day, you are left with this right here. Remember, with the double angles, I have shown you that sin 2 times a variable will give you that. So here you have sin 2 times the y. Now you put it like that and you put, it's a formula given to you and you know this. Now get to finding what is similar on the top and similar on the bottom, and it's a sine. So when you have a sine there to give you sine, and here to give you sine 2 cos a. These will cancel out, and with the 2, you know that automatically here, what it usually is, it's 1 sine 2 cos a, and you know that this gives you a 10. So the answer will be half 10 there. So as you can see, quite a few steps to get to what you need to, but easy as it can be. Now, moving on, it is essential that you know how to work with numbers as well. So, right off the bat, with this equation right here, you can already see the 2 sine 75 cos 75. Now, what does that look like? Right off the bat, it looks like the double angle that I've talked about with the 2 sine a variable cos a variable. So, that gives you sine 2 times that variable. So here that will be sine, and on your calculator you can punch in 75 times 2, and that is 150, and that is the formula, and that is what is up there. Now remember, with the last sum we also said this on its own is just a variable, but now you can automatically go to the reduction formula and start doing what I've shown you before, because now on your sum you can see cos 45 minus squared x. On the reduction formula, it works with the 90s, the 180s, and the 360s. 45 does not exist there. Now, what else do you know for a fact? You know your compound angles and your double angles. Now, let's move back to our sum. From here, you can see that this, whatever the variable in the bracket, is the same as this. And the variable here is the same as this. So, with the same variable on each side of the minus sign, you know that it comes from your compound angles. The cos rule, it says it can be cos a variable, sin that the variables are shared. And now you know that that is what is happening there, but it moves with the minus sign, so you know you're dealing with this one. So you go on to writing, you put your cos and the first variable of the two and the second variable. So here you know it's your 45 minus 2x. Please use your brackets, and with the plus sign, you go on with your 2x. There is your variable. With this left in our sum, we have to change this to a simple angle, like an acute angle. And again, from your reduction formulas, you know that 180 minus a variable should give you what you need. So the 180 minus 150, that will give you a sin 30. And with that, we move on to the second slash, and that's cos. You leave your 45 minus 2x plus 2x is 0. So that is what you are left with. Now you punch in your calculator sin 30, and that gives you a half. A half. And then you punch in your calculator a cos 45, and that gives you a square root 2 over 2. And you know in maths you can never work with a division sign, so you go and do your half times and you swap them around, 2 over squared over 2. And now these ones, as you know, would cancel out. What's on the bottom here and what's on the top here, if they're the same, they cancel out, so you are left with 1 over square root of 2, and that gives you 2 over 2, and that is your answer. Now we move on to a much harder sum, but still this is not even a level 4 question, so don't be thrown away. And from you can see there are already so many variables, and people get confused, people think it's already hard, they don't even want to try. But learn to deal with one as one, like deal with one sum at a time. So let's start with the square root 3 sine x. That cannot be changed, that cannot become any simpler than it is, so you leave it as it is. Sine squared 72 can be changed at the end, but for now leave it. You have bigger things to change. You go on with your plus, and then your sine 198 degrees. We do not work with such big degrees. You need to change it into an acute angle, and 198 is way according to your reduction formula, is bigger than 180. And being bigger than 180 is bigger than 180 with 18 degrees. But remember, with your cast rule, with the third quadrant, it's where 10 is positive. But here we have a sin being bigger than 180. So that will give you, from here, this is what you have, but let's write it here. That will give you your minus sign, the variable that you punch in your calculator. You take your 190 that you are given minus the 180, that gives you 18. So now you have minus sine squared 18. And then you move on to your square root of 3, that cannot be changed, but this variable, moving to your reduction formulas again. As you can see, we use the reduction formula a lot. You move on to your reduction formula. Cos theta minus any variable is minus sine theta. So here it will give you a square root of 3, and that will give you minus sine x. There it's theta, but here you're working with x's, so work with that. And then you can do your division sign and tan 120. We want an acute angle, please remember. And with this, it shows you can punch in your calculator 180 minus your 120. That means we are 60 degrees too much. But then your 180 minus a variable, it's where a sin is positive. But now we have a 10 in our possession, so it will become a minus 1060. And then your sin x cannot be changed further. You move with that. Now, you look into all the variables that you're given. Let's work with the top of the fraction first. You can see that every variable has a sign. Every variable has a sign. So you can put the sign out as the commoner. And then with the first variable, remember this is a time, so they are together. And with that, you can put the third that you have here, and you put this as it is because it doesn't get divided. You put that as it is, and you have your plus sign. Now, instead of moving this, we prefer to move that. So that will be your sign there. But then remember that any sine, cos, or tan squared, any number, it will remain the same. It is here in your reduction formulas. Sine squared anything, the variable does not have a minus in it or whatsoever. So this will remain sine squared 18 with your minus, with your square root of 3. And that's that. And you close your bracket, you move to the bottom of your fraction. We dodge in our calculator. Remember, in the exam you don't have time. You say minus 1060, that gives you a minus square root of 3, and you write your sin as it is. Now, right off the bat, what is on the top and on the bottom, if they are similar, they cancel out. So remember, here is the times, so sine here and sine here can cancel out, and you are left with the variables here. Remember, 90 minus whatever it is, whatever it gives you on the cos sign, it can give you the same. Now, when you have a 90 minus a 72, it gives you an 18. And here you have 72 and 18. So you know that this can be changed to, okay, you can write that in. And this can be changed to cos squared x, that variable, because that change to a double angle can give you that. And then you can finish and your sum and move on to step 3. Now, with a square root of 3 plus another square root of 3, it's a commoner, so you can take that out and you are left with your You're left with that. And then you have that. And then remember what I said about if it's on the top and it's on the bottom, it can cancel out. But now let's chill off with that first. And you know from grade 11, you know that cos squared any variable plus sine any variable equals 1. Now that's cos plus any variable. Remember here it can be cos can be here, sine can be here. So this at the end of the day gives you 1. Okay, and that's what you're left with. And remember what I said about canceling out. So this can cancel out with that, but then that will give you 1 divided by minus 1. Remember, this gives you minus 1, and you punch in your calculator. 1 divided by minus 1 gives you a minus 1, and that is your answer.